Hey, Jim Roman, national speaker and business coach. And I am asked quite often, what does it take to be successful in business? Or if I do start a business, what do I need to know so that I actually win at business? In this episode, I'll be talking about things you can do to increase your odds of succeeding in business, especially if you're just starting out, some of the things that they don't tell you that you wish you would have known sooner. So let's jump into it. Number one, before starting a business or to be successful in business, I would find something that helps you drive your success, drives you to take action other than money. What do I mean by that? So often people start business to make money. They start a business because they need to make money or they want to become rich. And that's fine and dandy. But when it gets tough, that doesn't always get you through those tough times. So if it were me and I were you and I wanted to be successful in business, I'm considering starting a business, I want to know what's going to drive that success. Maybe I'm going to look at the impact I want to make on the world. Maybe there's a specific segment of the population or target market that I just want to serve, or I believe my product can create a different world for us to live in. So number one thing I would want to do is to find what drives your success, what drives you, what impact do you want to make with your business or product and service? I find that's one of the keys to being successful in business. If you can figure that out with the right motivation, you're increasing your odds of getting there. Number two, what can you do to be more successful in business, or what you should know before starting a business is have what you want your business look like in the end. Stephen Covey, I believe, is quoted as saying, keep the end in mind. Think about your end in mind. What are you ultimately trying to accomplish? And a lot of times people who start off starting a business, they just go into business to go into business because of out of circumstances, or they think it's a good idea. And that's great. But if you don't think about what you want your business to look like in the end, how big you want it, what big of impact you want it, I think you're missing a huge opportunity to stretch yourself, to push yourself to success. So let me ask you, if you're starting a business, growing your business, in the end, when it's successful, what will that look like? How many people will you be working with? How big of an impact will you make? How large would your company be? What would that picture look like in the end when you are successful? Number three is knowing your numbers. Knowing your numbers. So often people put together business plans and they put together financial projections, which is awesome. A lot of times people will put together their accounting and their QuickBooks or accounting software that they use, and they'll know their profit and loss statement. And that's great, a profit and loss statement. But the numbers I'm talking about is, what do you need to survive? What do you want to make it worthwhile? And what do you desire or dream for? Knowing those numbers makes the biggest difference. Most people avoid the numbers. They hope at the end of the day, at the end of the month, that there's money in the bank. That's a number, but it's better to know your needs, wants, and desires towards your dreams. What do you need to make to get by? What do you want to make to provide for yourself? But ultimately, what is your desires for your dreams? How much is it going to take to make that happen? Knowing those numbers going into business or being in business makes the biggest difference in your success. I find the more I know my numbers, the more I hit my numbers. Next would be, how do you plan on bringing in business? How do you plan on bringing, if you're starting a business, you're thinking about doing the business, how do you plan on bringing in business? Are you going to do marketing, advertising, networking? Or the alternative is hoping, praying, and begging it comes in. See, so often we start a business, we think it's a great idea and the business will just fall in our lap. And that just doesn't happen. It really doesn't. It takes effort to building relationships, building your community, building your brand, building product or service awareness. So again, how do you plan on bringing in business? Marketing, networking, advertising, through relationships, creating raving fans, creating an experience. Don't do what a lot of people do. Hope, pray, and beg it comes in. Make sure that it comes in. Next, what you can do to be more successful is, how do you plan on allocating your time? Allocating your time to bring in business, allocating time to get the work done, and allocating the time to make sure your customers, your clients are being taken care of. There's doing the work, but then there's doing work beyond that and creating those raving fans. So how do you plan on allocating your time for yourself, maybe for your team, and even allocating your time to having a life while building your business? A lot of times people don't think about the time. They just grind, 80 hours, 90 hours a week. But ultimately, the most successful people know how to allocate their time effectively, productively, so that they can become profitably in the business. Next, increasing your odds of success, starting a business, running a business, or even growing a business, is how do you plan on getting the work done? Who do you plan on having on your team? Do you plan on having a team? If you ever heard me speak on team building, I always talk about that every person should have an assistant, and they should have an assistant to their assistant, and so on and so on. Do you plan on doing this alone, taking this journey, or do you plan on building a team? If it were me and I were you, I would want to know what kind of team I want now and what do I want in the future. I think that makes the biggest difference. Building a business by yourself can be lonely and boring, but building with others, having a team of people, makes a world of difference for the impact that you can make in the world, impact on the quality of life that you have, and most of all, impact on the team members that you have, giving them a chance to be a part of that. Next, what I would want to be doing is what are you going to do to ensure your team follows the processes that you put in place to create that customer experience? So what are you going to do to make sure that your first customer has the exact same experience as your 1,000 customer? How do you plan on creating a franchise-like experience, a 5-star-like experience? A lot of times people don't think about processes till it's too late. Then your people don't have anything to follow, and then you end up doing the work yourself. I think the number one reason why people don't delegate effectively is because the people they're delegating to don't have a process to do it right, correct, or in some cases, the way you would want them to do it. And so having a process written down makes the biggest difference, which leads to the next thing is creating what kind of experience do you want your customers to have? I find that whatever product and service that you have, if your customers have a great experience, they will rave about you. They will give you reviews about you, and they will eventually refer you. And so how do you plan on getting the work done effectively, consistently, so that you can create that experience that people will rave about you? And then finally, what are you going to do to think like an owner, act like an owner, and live like an owner? A lot of times we don't think about the kind of life we want to have. Ultimately, once we build our business, we'll figure that out later, and later doesn't come, and people then, not have the happiness in their business that they truly, truly want. Because ultimately, building a business can be great, and it could be not so great. It depends if you are ready before you get started, and if you've already got it started, doing some of these things that we talked about today makes the biggest difference. I hope you got some value out of this video today. Again, I just felt compelled to share this. A lot of times people ask me, what does it take to be successful in business? And I've written many articles on that. But I was thinking from today, if I were starting a business, what would I want to know going into it? I want to have a drive other than money. I would want to know what I want my business to ultimately look like now. I would also want to know how I'm going to get out of the business. I didn't talk about that. How do you get out of the business? Are you going to sell it? Are you going to have someone else run it for you? Or are you going to live in it for the rest of your life? I would want to know my numbers, not only my needs and my wants, but my desires to my dreams. How do I plan on bringing a business other than hoping, praying, and begging? Who's going to be on my team? Am I going to have a team? Do I want to make a bigger impact? I think I would want a bigger team to do that. What am I going to do to make sure my team follows the consistent process, create that consistent experience so that our clients rave about us, review us, and refer us? And then ultimately, how do I think like an owner, act like an owner, but ultimately live like an owner? Because building a business can be fun if you do it right. Again, I'm Jim Roman. Remember, the more you know, the more we grow.